Happy Monday, everybody. We have a doubleheader of South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network, but it leads off first with the professor and the pupil. And some people say professors and the pupil because you got two of us in here, George and I. But our pupil tonight is Eric Katz, and I have a special place for Eric because number one, I found a kid on Twitter and all of a sudden had one phone conversation with this guy that lasted over 3 hours. So I got a guy that knows a little bit about baseball, then again, a lot of it about baseball. So, we'd like to bring this show on when I have a legitimate prospect, and I got more than a legitimate prospect. Eric Katz, there's only words to describe him. He's a stud and a 29-year-old stud. Well, Eric, welcome to Professor of People. Glad to have you on tonight.
Thanks for having me, Scott and George. I'm very happy to be here.
We're glad to have you as well. So let me tell you something. I can find talent anywhere, but when I've been finding a lot of people on Twitter lately, and as I alluded to, that the first conversation lasted 3 hours. I won't tell you about how a lot of the other conversations have lasted. But if I end up losing my voice at the end of the call, Eric, no, okay, Daddy's done. Okay. But, he got a lot of information. He convinced me, you know what, this guy, to me, is somebody we can develop in our system. So, Eric, let's recollect about our first conversation and our interaction initially on Twitter.
Well, I think it was that you just followed me. I mean, it was just one of those out of the blue follows. So I just thought, okay, it's someone who likes sports, and a guy I can interact with when it comes to, what I publish on content, whether I'm yelling at the Yankee game or something like that. Or just content in general, or what I'm writing about that day or that week, just someone really cool to follow. And then we just kind of, I don't know, I think we kind of just DM'd off to the side for one day. And, I asked, hey, are you free for a call? I mean, obviously random guy asking for your number on the internet. But we talked. I think I met your wife that same day over the phone call, and we talked about everything. You were talking about different guys, and I knew the personalities of it. I think you fell off your chair when I mentioned Howard Cosell. And then I think we were talking Wisconsin football as well that day, if I recall right. But we talked about a lot of different things, and we just thought, you asked me if I wanted to do a show. So I said, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm always open to going on shows. If whatever you want to talk about sports wise, if I know something about it and I got some free time, I will, I'll gladly do it. And then here we are ever since.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you one thing. For a guy that's 29 years old, yeah, Howard Cosell's an interesting bird. He really is. He did baseball and he did football. I met him once. He did nothing to impress me one bit, but
he did boxing.
Exactly.
Boxing a lot.
Really big boxing.
Yeah.
But you know what? He covered baseball, football, and obviously football, baseball, and of course boxing. So, all right. So, since Eric, baseball is your specialty and passion, tell me why it did become that, because that got you a spot on our show, 108.6's Baseball Talk. And by the way, that does follow the professor and the pupil tonight.
Oh boy. Well, it's been mine for a long, long time because I got introduced to it when I was very young. I can't quite remember the age, I think it might. And so I just got into it, and I got into obviously growing up when I was a really young kid. It was the Yankees because I was living in northern New Jersey at the time, and that's Yankee country. And sorry, Mets fans, only a small percentage roots for them. I think it was that. And then I think it was also in school, I was incented to do certain things, like do my work or whatever, and I would earn baseball cards. And this I think was 2002, 2003 MVP edition cards. I think I can't honestly remember because it's been such a long time. And I think it was also a school teacher of mine who also further invigorated it. Actually, her husband was actually at old Yankee Stadium back with the green, back when the facade was green, the jailhouse was across the street. At that point in time, he was actually getting a hot dog when Mickey Mantle hit a home run because Mickey Mantle was his hero, and I think he might have been at Roger Maris's 61st home run game when Sal Durante eventually caught that ball, and then obviously went on to become a lot more famous than he'd ever imagined. But I think it was that ultimately had my love for the game, playing Little League baseball, and also just obviously nowadays playing softball, and also just and growing up in Chicago, you got two teams nearby. I mean, you get the American League and the National League, so you kind of get the best of both worlds. So that kind of did it. And also going to minor league baseball games, that did it as well. Being able to kind of be close to the game and see what was happening.
Right.
And then actually at one point it got so bad that all I was reading in school was baseball books, to the point where my fourth grade teacher actually banned me from reading them. She told me not to go. She banned me from. I'm like, are you serious? You're banning me from reading a book? And she's like, you're not going to read those today. She wouldn't let me.
Yeah, she figured she'd have a hard
So that's and then it slowly became broadcasting, because I went to a camp. It was a sportscasters camp where I think I saw it in a magazine one day and asked my parents about it. And it was a guy. He was actually he was the assistant coach on Kobe Bryant's high school team. I won that team won that team that like won state and whatever. And he personally knew Kobe, and actually I still keep up with him on Facebook, and got to he actually was able to go to that big old televised funeral. He kind of got me into it. And then also, this was back in the day when you were making, like, when we were making our broadcast, this was like 2006. So this was like the summer of Barry Bonds, when he was pursuing Hank Aaron's record, whatever you thought of that, and all the stuff that went in there. This was also there was a lot going on in the sport that year, and they we were making our broadcast through VHS tapes, if some of you can remember that. This was before you could burn them onto the CDs. So DVDs were just starting to become a thing at the time. So this was a long time. This was still, VHS was still very much in the game. So this was a long time ago. So I got into doing that, and just enjoyed being able to kind of talk to athletes about it, being able to go to parts of the ballpark that everyone else doesn't get to go, and be able to meet all sorts of people. And so that kind of further nudged me along. And then I think probably, and there was a break in between, besides working Little League umpire, things like that. I was still going to games, because actually when I was younger, it was going to White Sox games, because we had no money for Wrigley Field, and the White Sox were very cheap, and all you had to do was pay. I think at the time it was like $10 round trip to the city, and then also I think another 10 or whatever it was to take the L to on the south side. So when I was mentioned, and also my dad would drive us to the game, because minor on a subway, not a good idea. And so I remember going with my dad and seeing Jim Tomei hit a home run, which was cool.
Right.
When he was on the White Sox at that point in time. And then I think college is when I really started getting into writing, because I enjoyed being able to share my opinions about what I was thinking of that day. It also gave me something else cool to do, and be able to again, be able to be around these guys, as well as doing sports events where I would do doctor's office openings with athletes, which was really cool. Be able to, about when I just got out of school, I went down to New Orleans and did a charity event where Richard Sherman was there, Ladarius Webb was there. Ladarius Webb, if you don't know, he was one of the starting cornerbacks on Baltimore's last Super Bowl team. Right. And so being able to do that was cool, and be able to do an event at Soldier Field with Warren Sapp, who you were able to kind of be around him, and also be able to kind of be with, former Chicago Bears players and other NFL players, which to me was really cool. So I kind of explored it from that angle as well. And then, college, I was doing everything I could to be asked just because I was working at the time in school. So I had a couple different jobs. It was when I was at college at DuPage, I founded the broadcasting thing. And yeah, it took a lot of work. Had to get the funding, which not an easy thing to do with a lot of these schools, and try to get them invested in the idea. And got to do the NJCAA Region 4 tournament when I was at college at DuPage, and be able to just be able to do different things around the office. Kind of got exposed to sports in a new way, and worked the scorer's table, did public address announcing. I think I was the first student to do it. Then, there was the year break because I had to work, was getting ready to transfer, and, didn't have a whole lot of time to do it. And so then once I got to Quincy University, I was, I didn't think I'd be able to do broadcasting again, just because I had moved on to sport management at that point, and I was looking forward to kind of exploring that angle of it. But then eventually, I got work study money, and was able to had to get a job on campus. Actually, my dad was like, we noticed the job fair sign. He's like, you see that sign right there? Go to it. So yeah, I'm actually a little more forceful about it. But I went and was like, had an offer to do intramurals, and then the one I really wanted was to work in the athletic office. So I'm literally waiting at the door. I'm literally there, just in the literally waiting, like literally sitting outside. Kind of, I think I was able to make myself a sandwich at that point. See the SID and almost tackled him, and asked him, and it was trying to get in, and just trying to get in, do anything I could. And so what I did was I wrote down all the experience. Actually, I went into the back of the paper just to get in. And then, I eventually did get the opportunity to broadcast, and they actually paid me to do it too. And then eventually the SID he's like, Eric, do you want to come work for me? I'm like, I would love to. And so what he had me doing was I was doing stuff around the office. Getting ready for game days, working games, made a lot of copies while I was at it. He'd send me over to the copier, and, you push the button and it would just print the thing out. I was taking photos during games, which was cool. So that stuff got on the internet, which was really awesome. And then being able to just, I was working as many games as I could. I mean, obviously I enjoyed it as a student, being able to do the stuff there. But, I viewed it as just, this was my career, and I had an opportunity to do it. And also being able to work the NCAA Division II tournaments if our school was good enough to get in and do the events. So that was really fun. And then, it was, and then, here I am now.
All right, Candy, let's go to a station break.
If you see a red subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner by George, that means you have not subscribed to us. I do not know why you have not. After the show on Monday nights, we talk baseball. Tuesday nights, we talk football. Wednesday nights, Sports Exchange. You never know what we're going to be talking. The same with Thursday nights on Fire Up. Wednesday nights, we typically do a show on No Filter. Scott does it. It's called the Motor City Mad Mouse Show. It's a one-on-one interviewing show. If you like podcasts and to listen to any or all of our shows, you can always get them either on iHeartRadio, Google, Apple, Spotify, CastBox, Deezer, wherever you get your podcast. You can go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where you can see some of Scott's writings, George's writings. I take pictures. Plus, there's all kinds of press releases from the Dolphins, the Jags, the Lions, the Miami Hurricanes, the Florida Gators, FAU Owls, USF Bulls. It's all there. Miami Marlins, go there. Panthers, go there. Let's see what else. Someone on this panel, actually two people on this panel, the two professors here, both wrote books. One was published by the South Florida Tribune Publishing Company, and it is called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. And that was none other than Scott Morganroth. And the other professor wrote the foreword to the book. So they're actually both in this book. But you can get it on Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and Google. Get your copy today. If you want to sponsor a show, call Scott, 954-304-4941, or advertise. Call Scott, or email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Twitter @TribuneSouth. Back to you, Scott.
Look at that. Awesome job, Candy.
I forgot to share one story. I actually forgot high school.
Sure.
One thing I did was, how I eventually got into like the other side of it was I was looking for something to do because I didn't see anything people doing it, and I was just like, well, I want to see what this goes. So I met the athletic director. My introduction to him was when he told me when I first arrived was, "What do you want?" And I told just a shot, just to do announcing, just a shot. He's like, "Oh, okay, send me a tape. I'll see what you got." And this guy is like, had this like. He could just look at you and you just knew that you knew who was the boss. And I'd eventually, I kept on going back to the office, hoping he heard it, kept on shooing me away. Sometimes giving me that look, which, man, it's scary, believe me. But of course I got to know him, and we became great friends afterward. And then eventually one day he was in his office listening to it. When I arrived that day, I kept on being outside the door, just hoping that he would get there. Well, actually, I think at one point the secretary started giving me food because I kept on showing up. And so, I got into it that way as well. So, just kind of trying to open as many doors as I could.
All right, let's go to the chat room. I'll let Jonathan. Hi, Doc. Thank you very much for being on here.
Hi, Jonathan.
All right, sounds like the Rudy story from the movie. Jonathan, you always come up with some great stuff. And this just lived up to your reputation. Good stuff, Jonathan. Glad to have you on tonight.
That's beautiful, but I don't think my story could ever compare to Rudy, because I think Rudy's is a lot. Rudy's is much more is a lot better than mine, because I wasn't begging to go against 300-pound men on a football field.
All right, so George, anything you want to add real quick?
Yeah. I mean, I see similarities. I mean, things that happen in my life. I mean, what I'm hearing, Eric, is just a lot of persistence and a lot of which you have to do as a young man, a young student, or trying to get into sports of any kind, regarding, being persistent, talking to the right people, making sure they're aware of you, sending in your tapes, showing them your writing samples, that sort of thing. So a lot of that stuff I can relate to, and Scott probably too, because I mean, it was ingrained in us at a young age, a long time ago, a young age, but still, that you have to do that, because if you want to stand out from the crowd, I mean, the only way to do it, one of the best ways, is obviously to submit and kind of stay on their case, try to bug them as much as you can politely. You don't want to be a nuisance. But that's what I'm hearing, Scott, Scott, about Eric.
It was also, that same persistence was also how I landed an internship as actually broadcasting for the National Pro Softball Pitch Chicago Bandits, where actually I applied for the PR job because I had some writing experience, not a lot, but I had some where I can make this look I can make this look pretty good, But then they actually forwarded it on to the broadcaster, and they told me, okay, he'll give you a call in a few days. So I'm like, okay, so I go to the gym thinking the call is not going to come, because it's it's only been about a minute. It's only been like a few minutes. The next thing you know, I get out of the gym, I see a call from an unknown number, and I'm like, hello, and it was the broadcaster for the Chicago Bandits, and we talked. He's like, can you come meet me at a Subway or McDonald's or something, and we can chat more about this. I'm like, yeah, sure. So I do that, and I actually call my dad to tell him. He's like, oh. I'm like, so I didn't have a car. I didn't have a car at the time. So I said, I'll just stay at school. I'll walk to the Subway, and then you can come meet me. And we chatted, and we just eventually hit it off. Then we had another one where he's like, hey, with this job, you're gonna have to sell community night sponsorships. Are you good with that? I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm willing to learn it. I'm willing to learn about that, which actually eventually in that side of business, I truly actually did have a lot of fun doing, just being able to go and visit some of these businesses and make phone calls and create. Again, it goes back to creating the opportunity. And so there I was, I'm 20 and I'm broadcasting for a professional team where seeing the likes of Monica Abbott, Natasha Watley, got to work one of Jenny Finch's camps, Kat Osterman, who was obviously the best of the best. I mean, obviously, and then seeing them both pitch, which was fantastic. Two polar opposite pitchers, where Katz got the off speed, while Monica's looking to take your face off with a fastball. But that summer was fantastic. I learned so much, met so many people, guys who I'm still in touch with to this day.
Okay, so let's go back to the chat room, Eric. Now you're your comments are taking a little bit of notice. Start with Candy Evelyn first. How much do you use social media up there?
I use it a lot. I like to post my stories to have people like family and friends and other people read them and post them in groups. I mean, obviously social media is going to be social media sometimes, but that's just that's just part of the deal. I know Scott can probably attest to that pre-social media, and and then it's just part it's part of the thing that gets you out there. I mean, you kind of have to have it's you have a love-hate relationship with it, because sometimes the comments are just not fun to deal with. But it's just part of the world we live in now, and it's kind of a I like to say probably a necessary evil, if that's the right word to do it.
Okay, let's continue to go to Joshua Dorr. Now this guy's on a roll, so we're going to make sure everything that he gets on there is not only heard, answered, and all that. So Joshua Dorr says, "How does it feel to be my protege?"
I like it. It's a lot of fun. I like the fact I can bother him anytime I feel like it, and also I like the fact that I can zing him anytime I feel like it, and then it's great just being able to kind of learn from someone who's been there, and being able to interview guys who are very notable in their own right, like Muhammad Ali. Right. So I'd probably say learning. So I'd say you learn a lot from Scott. He's generous beyond measure. And actually you could probably argue almost to a fault, you could probably say. But he's a terrific guy to learn from.
Thank you. All right, Joshua Dorr. Well, he's got 3 up there. We're going to put every one of them one at a time. Keith Ostrichman is a great guy. You ever heard of him?
I think he might have pronounced Kat Osterman wrong. Hey, Josh, look up Kat Osterman and just look her up.
Okay. Well, meanwhile, when he does that, we'll continue to roll. I like this. I really like this question. How many Twitter and LinkedIn followers do you have? Excellent question, Josh.
LinkedIn, I use it more for work, so not really for sports. I use it more for work wise. But Twitter.
Well, just give them a rough idea how many you would say.
Probably 300-ish, but I mostly use it just for work and things like that. And then I think on Twitter is. I don't know at the top of my head. It's somewhere in the thousands. I know that.
Well, I know the last I looked, you had over 3,000 of them.
Oh, it's probably grown more than. I'm pretty sure I have more than that, but I haven't really. I don't.
That's
really.
impressive. I like that. That's
I just think that it's the type of thing that you kind of just grow organically. You just keep posting stuff. You find people are going to be interested in it, and then sometimes they'll follow you. It depends. It's all about quality, Josh, not quantity.
That's true. No, that's true. I mean, hey, you know what? If you have over 3,000 followers on Twitter, you're not doing that bad, because I understand a lot of the nicks and crannies about it. Mm-hmm. So now this is one of a Joshua special, okay? And I say it. So is Eric the new mini Scott? Oh gosh.
Not even close.
Okay, well, that's all right. All right, you need to get those numbers up before Scott lets you back on the show. Darla, he's messing with you.
Nice try, Josh. But I'm the OG.
I'm telling you, Josh, this guy. I told you, he's a brash 29-year-old stud. I mean, this guy's unbelievable. He's done good work for us, and for Scott, it's all about quantity. To some extent, there is, as long as it's respectable quantity, Josh. I will tell you that.
Well, now, you got to have some quality in there somewhere, Josh.
Yeah. Very true.
Now, I think the one thing that Eric does, which I really admire, and this is something that I've talked to other people on shows, that you got to be a really good writer to become a good broadcaster. Eric, I'm sure you can appreciate where we're coming from.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it's something that you don't see at all really anymore. You got guys just having the intern take care of the script and all that. And now it doesn't really sound natural at all. I think ESPN has fallen into that trap. I think there's plenty of, I think you don't have enough writers nowadays. And unfortunately, the broadcasting industry has really moved away from writing, which I still think there's some value in being able to do both. But unfortunately, that's just not the way the industry goes these days.
Right. So for a lot of you folks that are watching this show that are aspiring to get into business, you really should be a good writer before you become a broadcaster. That was the path I took with George early, but I got thrown into the broadcasting thing a little quicker because of necessity for the places I was in. But by the time I did get thrust into that position, I had a pretty good idea what I ended up doing, and I enjoyed doing a lot of the producing and behind the scenes until I got to the on air. So yeah, you're such a stud. I'm proud of that. Eric, what kind of soda are you drinking?
Mountain Dew.
He saw. Oh, there you
Mountain
go.
Dew.
I'll bet.
Caffeine.
Yeah, that's all right. But yet you don't act like a guy who's drinking Mountain Dew because you seem tame as can be, the way your dad taught you to do things, right, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, if you, it's probably because I've worked a full day at work, so I had enough time to get it out over there. But because but yeah, generally though, if you're going on, I mean, some caffeine is kind of necessary because you got to, it just helps you. It helps, especially when you're doing a long show, because talking takes energy.
Yeah, you know what? I knew that Josh was going to put this response out. This one's got to go up here. Mountain Dew, you are 100% mini Scott, and that is final. Josh, you are right about final, and that's, what you just said, Josh. It qualifies into becoming a bullseye comment. Okay, right there. All right, 3 more things I want to get to. Just so you know, if you want more Eric tonight, he'll be on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. We'll be 3 of us be joined by Mark Meriday. All right, Eric, talk about another shows, but not this one. Your favorite team, baseball team, that is.
New York Yankees.
Okay, fair enough. Any particular reason why?
Family, my godfather, my dad, and a bunch of other various family members. Actually, fun fact, my family split. One side likes the Yankees, the other side likes the Boston Red Sox.
Okay, fair enough. All right, you talked about a little bit earlier, but all right, do you have a favorite hockey team?
I'd say casually the Blackhawks. Actually, when I was really watching, I was in New Jersey when the Devils were competing for cups. But now I think after the lockout of the first lockout, I started watching less, and then obviously when the Hawks were on their run, I was really watching. But now that I just kind of lost interest after a while. But it was I watch a little here and there though, more casually.
Yeah, I know the Blackhawks are an original 6 team. All right, we talked about it a little bit earlier, and we talked about your background. So what are you doing now? What are your plans for the future?
Well, I'm writing for bellyupsports.com. I put articles out there about my opinions on what's going on, and I've kind of experimented, but kind of found my niche in baseball. So I've kind of put my opinions out on baseball, like what a team should or shouldn't do. I rip teams, equally, including my own. I've been able to, I do your shows, Scott. I do 108 Stitches, and once in a while I'll make a cameo on another show. But I think in the future though, right now the goal is to be able to get in an MLB press box, because that's something I've always wanted to do. Because personally I like talk to the players about the game, the managers, the coaches. I personally, it's just right now, it's just getting to an MLB press box. It's the only real thing I'm keeping up with.
I'm working on that. If you do, I guarantee you're going to be in boot camp hanging around me. But if you want to know that, George Eichhorn found out when I was covering the Tigers and Marlins that when I get there, I get locked in. I just have a certain routine of being in the box. All right, so a couple more. I like the way Josh was going with a lot of these comments. So what are your thoughts about Bo Football Talk? Do you watch much of any of our football stuff at all? You know who Bo is, right, Eric? A little bit?
Yeah, I know Bo. A little bit here and there. It's not bad.
Okay. All right. So he wants to know when you're going to take over the South Florida Tribune. I like that.
Probably never. Not as long as Scott's still refusing to retire, and his wife's still around. So yeah.
Well, hey, listen. You can, when the time comes, okay, that I'm not able to do it, and I'm looking for successors. Candy and you would make a great team. You guys did a show for a while called Fire Up Wisconsin, and I thought you guys did a fine job with it. So it happens that some of the shows we have, we do them periodically, but I always knew that your best thing is actually baseball. So he's asked. So Josh asked, Eric, did you buy Scott's book?
Not yet.
We're going to take care of that out in Milwaukee in a couple of weeks when we get out there. So
see, Josh. Sorry, go ahead.
I can tell you he's in it.
See, Josh. See, Josh. Now you know what a king looks like.
All right. Well, you know what? I've got to get into this one. I know Eric knows we're going to save a little bit of time for this. We had a show that to me, okay, that resembled a boxing match. All right, look at Joshua Door. This he's all right in my book. Don't ever talk over Scott, Eric.
I mean, it happens. It happens once in a while. I mean, we don't do it on purpose.
That's all right, Walter. You didn't get the message. The stream, that's okay. It's on the YouTube channels. Just go ahead and watch it again, and that's okay. I'm glad you're here, anyways, Walter. We always enjoy having you on here for sure. Thanks for being on. But it's on the YouTube channel as well. And we also put it on Facebook. We put it on LinkedIn, and we put it on Twitter as well. But you don't have to worry. And I'll tell you, he's making that emphatic. All right, but you know what? This is a one here, which we call our final topic, but boy, we can't have any more fun than this one. We had a memorable show with Eric and Mark Mancini. Okay, for a lot of you that don't know Mark Mancini, he's a guy that I've worked with for a period of time. You got two cagey vets that can go at it. But one time I decided, because I like to do a lot of different things with these type of shows, let's just see how it would work when you have Eric with Mark Mancini. Now, before we go to you, Eric, George, tell everybody out there what Mark Mancini is like, since we've dealt with him for a while.
God.
Well, Mark Mancini is very aggressive. He spreads himself across a number of platforms. He's very well versed on a lot of different things in sports. He can be a bit of a bullhead at times, and he can get pushy at times. And obviously, he's got his own opinion. He's going to stick to it, and his own of teams, obviously, that he likes, and he's going to stick to that too. So it was a perfect head-to-head match, Scott. And if you folks haven't heard or seen this, boy, you got to, because it was toe-to-toe, like Thomas Hearns and Marvin Hagler.
All right, before I get into his comments, I don't mind putting this one up, Eric, because if anybody I should put it up that would respond to it, it would be a good one like you. So how would you feel if someone called you a communist leader?
I mean, I wouldn't be happy because, that's kind of offensive to a lot of people.
Yeah,
you bet.
You bet. All right, there you go. You have your answer, Josh. Mm-hmm. Now, Eric, describe what that one time was like when you and Mancini battled, and you came out of the gate swinging like I've never seen anybody coming out. I mean, James O'Pete's, if anybody could come out swinging aggressively, you look like a barracuda and a great white shark all rolled into one. All right, Eric, talk about your show with Mancini.
Well, with Mancini, it's he I forget what the subject was. I really don't remember what it was, but Mancini, as everybody knows, is very, very out there. And sometimes not in a good way. He's I think we were talking about something. It was something I knew all about. I think he was ripping the Yankees, actually. It might have been that. One thing I did was I think he was ripping that and complaining about small market teams. And I think he mentioned the Pirates. I told him because he just does not shut up about the Pittsburgh Pirates. He really does not. We had a couple of those. I don't mind him, and I like some players, but at that moment in time, he was just complaining on. I basically told him he was complaining on his molehill that his owner won't spend any money, which is a known fact that he won't. Yeah. And he was telling me how big market teams do it, and he kept on raising his finger, and I wasn't done yet. So I told him to put it down because I'm like, oh, I got his timing now. Now I know when he wants to speak, and right. I had to put him to shame in front of probably a bunch of people that were watching. I'm sure it's been replayed multiple times. And I don't think he spoke for the rest of the night, if I remember correctly, because I don't think he expected a bull in a china shop to come running out of the gate and to ruin the guy's confidence. Now, I think he's a nice guy. Don't get me wrong. I have no ill will toward Mark Mancini. I mean, I think it was kind of like Seinfeld and Newman. We all have that. We have that friend, okay, we're great with, but then there's that other friend that they have. You're like, no. And and Mark Mancini was the no guy. I just played off the television feud. I just played off the the stream and the television feud, or whatever you call the mediums these days. That I just did it because it was, to me, it was entertaining, and I don't know how people truly felt about it, but to me, I thought it'd be pure entertainment. Plus, he's been in the business a while and should know all about that.
Yeah, and as I recall, because I think I might have not been on that show, but another one that you two were on with me and Scott, he's always harped on the lack of championships, and the struggles of the Yankees over the last decade and more, and he also knows and throws back the Dodgers, winning one in a COVID year. And, so he gives you that pushback all the time, like you said. But if you bring up the Pirates, oh, wow. And I agree with you. Eric. He deserves a lot of pushback on that because his Pirates are living in the past. They have not won anything at all lately.
No, I mean, they've gone to the playoffs 3 times in the last 20 years.
Exactly.
And I bring up, the Yankees haven't, it's a known fact. It's been a while since the Yankees won the World Series. I do agree with that. I mean, that kind of comes to show you the randomness of October. I mean, that's just a fact. The playoffs are longer now, and that just is what that is. But at the very least, though, unlike the Pirates, the Yankees have at least won a bunch since the Pirates were last relevant.
All right, let's go to the chat room because it is busy, and I want to make sure every one of Joshua Doors gets in there. A lot of his has really been on target tonight. How many darts do you rip a day? Huh.
I don't understand the question.
All right. How many darts do you rip a day? I think you might want to word it again, Josh. When you do, I'll put the revised one. What are your thoughts about Jacob Christner? Do you have any thoughts about him? Did you ever watch any of the shows that we participated on?
If you're asking me to insult him, I'm not. If you're asking me to what I truly think about the guy, I'm gonna say he was a good show. He was good on the show when he was there. I had personally, but if you're asking me to say something negative just for your own entertainment, I'm not gonna do it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the only thing I can say about Jacob Christner, he's passionate about what he did. Let's go to the comment below that. I think Eric, the little girl, should get together for a show. Yeah, Joshua, don't hold your breath on that one. Not that I didn't have ideas about it, but obviously after I left the NSMA event last week, I knew that there was no realistic possibility that would happen. And I'll tell you what, the little girl you're referring to has a bright future ahead of her. I don't know exactly where it leads. I'm glad I had a chance to work with the little girl for a while, but she's young, she's 20, and I think it's one of those kinds of things that she has to figure out what she wants to do. And I only wish her nothing but well. She's a good young prospect somewhere, and who knows where she'll land. So I'll just leave it at that. Now, Ralph Williams checking in from Grove City, PA. That's how I met Mancini, or Ralph through him. And you're right about the Pirates. So what gave you the idea? I'm asking you to say something negative.
You're asking me what I think about the guy. So generally, when you ask me what I think about the guy, it could be taken negatively or positively. But most of the time, when you ask the question, it can be taken negatively. So if you want to ask me whether I worked with him or not, or what I thought of the show with him, I'm more than willing to do that. But if you're asking me to just down the guy, you're not going to get that out of me. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So now, Josh, asking about the little girl guy, I don't mind answering those questions. I would say it's mutual, but when you're 20 years old, as Eric can tell you right now, young people like to try different things. And when you have somebody like myself, if I never felt like, I'm not going to say anything negative. I think she's a beautiful young lady. She really is. But it was probably more mutual than anything else. She just is trying to figure it out right now. She's young. You can't expect a 20-year-old girl to be able to make decisions that are 25 and 30. She's just starting out. So I have nothing negative to say about her. But to answer your question, I would say more mutual. So and now Josh saying it could be negative or positive. Exactly. And he says, I don't appreciate Eric's attitude. Well, sorry, Josh, you're asking the guy to give you straight answers, and he's doing exactly that. So,
I mean, you asked the question, you asked me, number one, I'm a great guy. All right. It's all part of the shtick. You're asking me the question, and I'm going to answer it how I see it's being asked toward me. So, you ask a question, you're going to get an answer. You ask a dumb question, I'm going to give you a dumb answer.
Like I say, brash. One thing about you are brash. And Puffin Penguin says hello. How you doing,
Hello.
Puffin?
Hi,
Good to have
Puffin
you on.
Penguin. How you doing?
Okay. And now he's calling you okay, Frank. I'll put it this way. Joshua Dorr is a character like no other. That's all I can say. I've known him for a long time, so he's a friend. But let's face the reality, Joshua. I'm putting everything that you have on the screen. I think it's interesting, and I think everybody has the right to get whatever response they're going to get out of it. But I'm going to tell you one thing, though, Eric, before you say anything. Eric Katz, to me, is one of the best young prospects I've had in my system, and over the 40 years, okay, that I've worked with younger people, I put Eric in my top 5 all day long. And I'll tell you why I do that, okay? And I'm going to say this outright for a lot of you aspiring broadcasters, okay? The guy knows how to write. And when you know how to write, he's going to speak. He speaks what he writes. That to me is a very important combination. I could see Eric down the road, if he ever wanted to, that he'd write a book. But, right now he's so young and he's accumulating experiences to do it. But I've had a lot of great prospects, George, to tell you. And Eric, to me, is easily in my top 5 because he has a attitude and he doesn't quit. And, like anything else, okay, I'm not going to say who would have made it or not. In my book, Lessons from the Microphone, I've had a lot of young prospects that either can cut it or they can't. And that's pretty much it. So, but let me tell you something about the little girl. I think she's a great kid. I really enjoyed the time we spent over at NSMA together. But again, like anything else, she may want to hang around her contemporaries and women in sports. And I tell you one thing, if she goes that route, and the way she's such a good study, the way she goes out there and spends time doing things, she's a tenacious student, is what she is.
Yeah.
But in the end, again, Eric, she was actually scheduled to come on tonight, but Eric came on instead. But I could see us talking down the road. I think what this little girl needs to do is experience more things in the field. And if she ever wanted to call me back, I would always be open to her call. But I got news for you. I have big plans with this network. And I'm going to tell you one thing. For a lot of you females that may be listening out here, if any female wants to get involved, males, of course, but females that want to get involved and come on and be a co-host, reach out to us, South Florida Tribune at gmail.com. Because I'm going to tell you one thing. George and I grew up in the area where you had Brent Musburger and Phyllis George. How did that work out? They were great. When you think of a lot of the go out there and a lot of the male, female, Joshua Dorr, I'm going to defer on that comment. Okay. So we'll leave it down there in the chat room, and it doesn't have to go any further than that. I don't want to get into a controversial subject that will get me into trouble. So I'll take the fifth on that. Yeah. But if there's any female commentators that want to come on our show, feel free to reach us at South Florida Tribune at gmail.com. I would certainly love to talk to you. And of course, one person, Eric, that you brought to my attention, Jonna Perlinger, you might want to reach out to her. She's interested in coming on and being a female sidekick on other sports outside of baseball. She's always welcome to come on as well. So, but go ahead, Eric. Anything you want to add to that?
I was going to say, I'd rather people tell me that they can't handle it or they're not ready rather than they bite off more than they can chew. And I think that's where, the little girl's at right now.
Right. Yeah. Again, Josh, that's pretty interesting questions. I have an attitude with anybody that participates in the chat room. As long as you ask pretty good questions, they're going up. All right. Now, Josh, I don't know if you know who this guy is, but actually I saw him yesterday. Are you a Craig Minervini fan? You ever heard of him?
No.
Okay. He's a South Florida guy. Craig is one of the most skilled people I've ever seen and a very close friend of mine. And I see him at Marlins games. So, but Craig, you never want to learn anything from a guy like him. This guy got it. He really, really does. So
I wouldn't mind talking to him.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. I have a lot of people I'm going to introduce you to anyways, Eric.
Eventually,
Yeah, one thing people will do, whether you're younger or older, on my network, you will meet people. You will.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, in fact, all right, so we'll get you out of here on this note, Eric, okay? you know, we've done a lot of baseball. Well, Leslie Visser, gosh,
That's a throwback.
Walter, I've had the good fortune to know Leslie for a while. If she is in Hall of Fame caliber, I don't know what it is. I love Leslie. I actually met her covering the Lions over on a Thanksgiving, and Leslie was great with her time. I've seen her a couple times since. You won't get any better than Leslie Visser. Suzanne Gate, I don't think I've heard of her, so I'm not sure.
Leslie Visser has contributed to a great many books about getting started in broadcasting.
She's unbelievable.
She was once married to Dick Stockton, and they had broadcasting in the family for sure.
Leslie to me is a Hall of Famer in every sense of
she
the
is.
word.
She's already in the Hall of Fame. I know she's in the broadcast Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
and she won the Pete Rozelle Award too in the Hall of Fame. I know that.
Right. Well, I know one thing. I know her pretty well. She's one of the sweetest people you'll ever meet. That's all I'm going to say. All right. So, Josh, as you can tell, we're trying to get as many of these things in. We don't understand a few of them. Well, please don't take it personally. We'll get to what we can do. So, Eric, we've talked about some of the things on baseball. You notice that we've talked about a lot of different guests on there. Okay. And as we lead into 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, we'll ask you who have been your favorite guests that you've met on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk.
Oh boy, we've had quite a few. Warren Brewster. I mean, got so down to earth, so fun. A lot of stories about the about those Phillies teams, especially with I forget his last name. I know his first name was Dallas.
Who?
Dallas Green.
Dallas Green.
Yeah.
And Dallas Green. I mean, Barry. I think he caught for the Yankees during the '80s for a little bit. Barry. He managed Fort Lauderdale Yankees. Barry Foote. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, he, a guy who played for the Yankees, and obviously being able to talk about that, talk a little bit about the Bronx Zoo at that point in time, especially with the boss. Let's see who else. That one guy who does. There's just been a lot.
Mark Versales is another guy you like too.
I love Mark.
Yeah, so let's go ahead. These are. I'll put these comments into the classification of funny, okay? Especially knowing I know about Puffin Penguin, Eric Badmouth. All right, that's okay, no big deal. All right, now we got Madmouth. Okay, Eric, you're going fast. All right, I don't move that quick, man. Eric Madmouth. Well, if he hangs around me long, you never know. I mean, no, that's a good one. Blake, Eric Madmouth, and Eric. Who's Blake? Okay. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder myself a little bit, but I like the Warren. I like the Warren
show, Josh.
Yeah. Hey, Josh. I mean, Eric wants you to come on. Melvin Brewster's sister. Well, I know where his thoughts are with Melvin Brewster picture. So now we have a little bit of a thing here, Josh. You and Eric are developing a little bit of a camaraderie. Why don't you come out there and poke your face in and talk with Eric? I'm telling you, I think it'd be pretty fun. I like the mix. And I do believe deep down inside, okay, he said he's been on the show, Eric. Okay, but you know what, Eric? Would like to be able to talk to you face to face, Joshua Dore. I'm telling you, you got the fastest fingers I've ever seen to spit stuff out. But I'm telling you, Eric, Josh, there's opportunities. We home grow our talent, man. Mm-hmm. I'm sure Eric would love nothing better than to have fun with you on the air. He's enjoying your chat, don't get me wrong, but nothing like talking back and forth. That's what we encourage. But again, I do want to reiterate one more thing, and then we do have to get to 108 Stitches Baseball Talk one more time. If there are any female commentators that want to come on any of my shows, feel free to reach us out to southfloridatribune@gmail.com.
All right.
Okay. So, okay, Puffin Penguin, I want to see Josh and Eric fight live on the show. There you go. Well, Puffin Penguin, to get that to happen, you need to apply a little bit of peer pressure on Joshua Dore. And once that situation happens, well, I'll guarantee you one thing, man. That live button, and I'll even do something even more. If you two are on there and George are on there watching, we don't mind saving our voice a little bit.
Careful.
To let you guys go at it.
No, Eric, I'm not related.
Adam, okay, that's fine. Eric is too needle. I'm not sure what that means, Josh, but okay. If you want some clarity on that, that's fine. But I would do anything to get you two on the show. Well, within reason, that is.
Be careful what you wish for, Joshy boy.
There we go.
Oh, that's a great one there. So, all right. Well, meanwhile, as we get ready to wrap up, Professor and Pupil, how did you enjoy your first run on the Professor and the Pupils here, Eric?
Oh, I loved it. It was great conversation. Got to kind of go back to my roots a little bit. Got to needle the peanut gallery, which I take pride in, and but which I just want to say to Josh, I'm not a jerk. I'm actually a really great guy. And believe it or not, outside the show, I do talk to Scott very regularly outside the show, and I also do check in on his well-being quite often.
Yeah, he really does. Josh, I guess the best way to describe the relationship that I have with Eric is, he's a protege, but you know what, Josh, he's like my son too.
Mm-hmm.
You always feel like, if he's your son, you do anything in the world to help his career along. And I will say one thing: when I write my goal is to have 3 books written by the end of 25. You can rest assured Eric was not only the first one, but he's going to be heavily mentioned in the next couple as well. One of them is on baseball, and the other one is going to be a sequel. So is Eric the little girl's brother? Don't hold your breath, Joshua. Okay, but it's always a good
Careful.
Yeah, they don't even know each other, and chances are they probably never will. So, but $5, Aaron. Josh takes out. Look at this one. Robert Wardell. Hello, my friend. $5. Okay, Aaron takes out Josh first round. And by the way, I think you mentioned something, Josh, about Eric Morgenroth. Actually, if you think about it, there is an Eric Morgenroth who's a distant cousin of mine back in Michigan, but he spells his name E-R-I-K, just so you know. Robert, look at this. Robert Wardell is so pissed to see Josh and the guys back. Well, I got news for you. Maybe he is, but I love the back and forth between all you guys. Joshua took a little time off, and we enjoyed having him, but I think he realizes we'll give him more of an open platform than most people will be out there, and we welcome his comments as long as they're done with decent taste. So,
yeah.
All right. So meanwhile, we have 108 Stitches Baseball coming up at the top of the hour. But actually, Robert Wardell, not pissed, been busy, so missed the razzing. There you go, Robert. Perfect comeback. Look at this guy. So meanwhile, George, why don't you let everybody go out there and let everybody know how they get a hold of you?
All right, you can reach me on Twitter at SanGSports99. You can reach me on LinkedIn under my name. You can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com. Find me on the South Florida Tribune website. I'm right under the Motor City Tribune. And at the end of my columns, I always have a link to my book, which came out quite a number of years ago. But Scott is in the book, and Ernie Harwell wrote my foreword. And there's a picture of the book right there with Bud Lynch and Bob Reynolds, 2 of the greatest sportscasters, on my cover, along with a guy named Winger, mascot Winger, and Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. That's the name of the book. And you can find me here on 108 Stitches and Professor and the Pupil. I'm glad to be part of the show tonight, and the Sports Exchange Wednesday night. So looking forward to getting feedback always from all the sports peeps out there.
Beautiful. All right, go ahead, Eric. Let everyone know how they get a hold of you. Especially let Joshua Dorr know how you get a hold of him, because that way he's going to realize you're legitimate in every sense of the word. Go ahead.
Okay. You can follow me on my Twitter at Sports Team News, and you can also follow my work at bellyupsports.com, where I'm writing about everything and anything that's involved in baseball. And you check the stuff out. One of the articles I got an award. Make sure you read George's book, because I do own the book, actually, and I have read it. And it has a picture of Scott when he actually had hair, and it's got a young George in there as well.
Yeah,
and along with other just fantastic fantastic just over different Detroit sportscasters, which you actually learn a lot from. Obviously, Ernie Harwell being probably easily number one.
And hello, Dusty. Glad that you're able to make it tonight. Eric will be legitimate once he has a lovely home and living room like George has. Well, all right, okay, whatever you say.
I mean,
But
what does your house look like, Josh?
Oh,
well, he actually
I'm
used
just
to live.
asking. Just
He
asking.
actually used to live in my subdivision when he was a renter. I haven't been to his new place, so I can't comment on that. But I do know one thing about Josh. He has a lovely wife named Rebecca and a pretty cute kid named Asher. So that's a nice young family up there, that's for sure. So, but meanwhile, okay, you got Eric's Candy take over for us.
The South Florida Tribune published a book late last year. It is called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. Yes, it is written by none other than Motor City Madmouse Scott Morganroth. And George wrote the foreword. There is a picture of Scott in there and Muhammad Ali, but there's a couple other pictures in there as well, and a lot of stories. Go get your copy today. Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, Google, and Apple. If you like to read, besides Scott's book, he also writes for the South Florida Tribune. So go to www.southfloridatribune.com, see his writing, see George's writing, see some of the pictures I've taken. Also, if you like to listen to podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us. Monday nights is baseball. Tuesday nights is football. Wednesday and Thursday, you just never know. Then you want to go Wednesday nights to most of the time. Scott does Motor City Madmouse Show on nofilter.net. It's a one-on-one interview show where he's interviewed the likes of a cancer survivor, Coach John Bonamego, NFL, former running back Mel Farr Jr. Then he's also interviewed, he actually interviewed a woman podcaster / broadcaster, Deb Whitcos. And let's see, who else did you interview, Scott?
George Eichhorn.
Well, oh, that's right, of course.
Why do we have that much time?
Well, go to nofilter.net, check them out. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott or email us. Call Scott at 954-304-4941 or email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Twitter is @TribuneSouth. I also forgot to mention last time, if you would love a hat that says South Florida Tribune or a sweatshirt that says Motor City Madmouth, you can go to our store, which is available on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. You can purchase any kind of merchandise there. Go shop till you drop. Have fun. And I think that's it. If I missed anything, or more importantly, if you missed anything, it's been scrolling around across the bottom all night long. Just rewind and either listen to it again or watch it again, and you'll get all of the information.
All right, Joshua's had rapid fire. I want to make sure we get these in. I think they're all actually pretty good. Eric doesn't have much of a sense of humor, I see. Well, okay. Eric, just take it all in. Take it all in. Maybe a more fitting name is Bo Jr. Okay, it's okay. Coach Bono is a legend. Yeah, he definitely is. George Eichhorn, who is he? Well, if you don't know by now.
Joshua, I want a Motor City Madmouth hat. I told you where the store is. Go and get it.
There you go.
Buy a hat. You could buy a sweatshirt. You could buy a pair of shorts, socks, you name it. It's out there. Go get it yourself. And I'm going to tell you something. Eric does have a sense of humor. The only thing is this was a show that was really built on learning about Eric and how he's grown in the business and what he's doing. So he is showing you his business side, not the laughter side.
Yeah, but if you want to see it, the laughter side, you might see it at the top of the hour when we go ahead and bring him back on for 108 Stitches Baseball Talk with Mark Mayer today. But yeah, Eric, to me, this is one of those up close. Let's get to know Eric Katz, and that's exactly what we did tonight, and really proud of the way. Any closing thoughts, Eric, before we call it a night?
No. Oh yeah, it's time to close the door on Joshua.
Hey, Josh, I got to tell you, this guy knows if you can dish it out, he can give it back.
That's right.
I fire back, Josh. And I do like you, by the way, Josh. I believe it or not, I actually do.
Yeah, see, there you go, Josh. It's not too bad. Ha, ha, ha. That was hilarious. We got to end the show on a hilarious night. So with that said, on behalf of Eric Katz and George Eichhorn. My name is Scott Morganroth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Professor and the Pupil. After the show, we have 108 minutes baseball talk with the three of us, plus Mark Maraday. Good night, everybody, and hope to see you in a few minutes. Good night now.